here to talk about a brand that elevates you on a higher path when your heart tells you it's your time to soar. On the Impact Brand Doctor with Rich Kozak. Check out these rich strategy nuggets that you can use right now.
This is the Brand Doctor podcast with Rich Kozak. Here we positively uplift brands with straight talk you can trust. Do you need more clarity in your brand, or are you stuck at the starting gate to the next level of your brand and the gate's locked? Bring your challenges and your vision right here to the Brand Doctor podcast. Today, we are honored to be talking to my friend and hopefully your new friend, David Chametzky. David is the founder of the brand Your Time to Soar, elevating you on a higher path. And he's a media host of a famous podcast, which I'm going to ask him to tell you about because it's relevant to what his brand does. And it's a piece of his New Yorkness. So David, it's not your and my first time on a podcast together, but since we last spoke, you authored a book.
I gotta tell you.
Say hi and tell us about the book. Is the book about something people need to learn, or is it insight into you? Tell us about the book.
Sure. It's a little bit of both. Actually, the book is titled When Your Heart Says It's Your Time to Soar.
We are on video, so you can hold it right
so we can
there.
hold on to it. And the beauty about it is it talks a little bit about some of the things that I do is rising you to your next level and finding this phoenix rising from your ashes. And it is a little bit about me. It's a little heart-centered stories and jottings that I had over the years, and some impactful stories, but also what value you might get out of those Pathfinder perspectives, and having the opportunity to think about maybe a first love or some time in your life that you found some perseverance.
When I read the book, I found myself kind of looking in a mirror. I was reading David's stories about his life and his poems about issues that are dear to all of us. And I found myself reflecting on me. So I think you will too. Get a copy of David's book. When your heart says it's your time to soar. Congratulations, David. You're now an author too. That's
it was an incredible feeling receiving it. As I read it before it was published, and but actually to hold it, it's one of those things I talk about when I'm mentoring. It's not only the words that touch us; it's the physical touch. It's the opportunities to hold, and it's definitely a touchstone in my life.
Nice, and his picture's on the back right here. So you do a lot of things, David. I think one of the first things I wanted to mention was I heard a story earlier today that you were nominated for an award from the Mental Health Association for legal. I know you've been in a legal profession, different aspects of the legal profession for years in law firms and corporations. Tell us a little bit about how that came about. What's the backstory and why were you nominated, just so people understand that part of you?
Yeah. So I've been in corporate America for close to 30 years. Actually, May will be 30 years.
Wow.
And, we all start growing through our lives, through the things that we've experienced, as well as just by growing. As we get older, we should continue to keep growing and leveling up. And one of the things I did is working on mental wellness. I think it's a huge topic that we all do. Some of it has come out of my own challenges. And by doing that, it really did it. And I was nominated I was actually one of the finalists for the Reed Smith Award for last year. And I was honored to be recognized for my work because it's also bravery talking about mental wellness, that we've not all been successful. I wasn't always successful. I've learned the resources and used my resources, but it took me a long time to get here.
Wow. So, in the legal industry, there's just so much stress and mental wellness issues are more common than most people would know. So what a blessing that you have that insight, and the work you do in coaching literally gives people who are in the legal industry or any industry of the opportunity to get some understanding and help and empathetic listening and a really good coach from somebody who's been through and really understands what they've been going through. So that's pretty cool. You do so many things, David. As I look at the way your brand presents itself, but the common denominator seems to be, in the brand these days, seems to be taking yourself to a higher level of leadership. What can that mean, really?
Well, leadership is really interesting because it starts with us. So you need to lead from yourself first, because knowing that and how you lead from yourself then expands. It expands to your company as you're starting working with your company, and then leading. You want to be a leader in the market, even or your community. It really is showing leadership, and then it also will change your relationships. Having that leadership, a capability and type of communication really lifts you up to that next level. All of those things by knowing yourself, knowing your company and what the goals are. It's not just knowing your company, but knowing how you want to lift up, how you want to get to that next level, because either we're growing or we're dying. And, the same thing, you don't want to flatline a business. You want to make sure that there's still growth going on and tinker with everything. And also make sure that when you're living and leveling up to that next level, you know the right resources or have the right resources in your back pocket by having the right people assist you.
So don't be surprised when you start looking for David Chametzky to see level up yourself for new opportunities, level up your company to make sure it's as successful as possible, and level up your relationships. David has coaching programs available in all three of those areas. So it's so great, David. Your podcast, it has a lot to do with people who are taking themselves to their next level. Talk about it a little bit. You're already past 100 podcast episodes. Tell us the name of the podcast and how it connects with people taking themselves to their next level.
Sure. No, definitely. The name of the podcast is Peace, Love, and Bring a Bat. And really, it's all about taking yourself to the next level and finding your ways to soar. Because what it is when we have peace, peace is one of those things that come to us when no matter what else is going on the outside, that individual piece of it, or your company, if your company is functioning properly or relationships are functioning properly, you can take it to the next level. When there's anything not going well in the process, it becomes a challenge and you're getting more headway, and it will reduce your level to soar. But when you're able to function, that's what happens. And then we go to that love. Everybody thinks we know love, but we only know love when we can love ourselves the strongest. Again, starting from ourselves. And as we start expanding more into our business, that's what our passion is. Not to get too much into religion, but that's really what Jesus was saying about love, how we should love each other. We should use our passion to follow the dreams that we want in our companies, in our lives, in our communities. And then that also leads into our relationships. As you know, you're married 46 years, and
this year, yes, that's right.
And it's one of those things of having that right communication, and it's not always, going to be perfect, but it's knowing how to have those boundaries. And that's what the bat is really knowing those boundaries where you need to do. And what are your non-negotiables? Who are the people and things that you need in all aspects of your life? Because when you have all aspects of your life pumping away, that's what really is peace, love, and bringing a bat.
So this is the Brand Doctor podcast, and very often I ask questions about challenges for the brand. David and I work pretty closely. I think you've probably already realized if you have a visual here, and if you don't, I'll give you one. The book has a teal tone cover on the front and the back. David is wearing a teal, although it's not blow your eyes out teal, a suit and a tie and glasses and shoes, tennis shoes. Anyway, so here's a rich strategy nugget. There are 4 things that make a brand come alive. David Chametzky's brand is doing all 4 of them right now, increasingly better as it moves forward. The first is being congruent with the heart of the brand founder or the brand champion. In this case, it's David. He's the founder and the champion, and his heart is huge. His heart is for others. His heart is understanding what it feels like when you're in the ashes of your life because everything's burned down around you. And he has a program called Phoenix Rise that talks specifically to that. But if you read the names of all of his programs, it would almost be confusing. But creating a brand called It's Your Time to Soar, elevating you to a higher level, is an overall brand. It's an umbrella brand that is brilliant on your part, David, that literally pulls everything under it. So number one is to be congruent with the founder or the champion of the brand. If you're out of congruence, there'll always be conflict. Number two thing that makes a brand come alive is consistency across the board. Like a person who's inconsistent, you don't know whether to trust them or not. They respond to the same question in multiple ways. You ask them to do certain things, they do it differently every time. You really don't know what to expect from them. And so you don't trust them. It's the same with brands. So consistency is huge. The third is consistent and unique language that transfers energy. We work on that a lot here, and David and I have been blessed to be able to work on that together. Consistent language that transfers energy makes it really clear the picture the brand sees for its target audiences when they bring the brand in. And it also reiterates those things about the brand, the characteristics, the categories of expertise that the brand must be known for consistently. And that consistency makes everything align with the brand's impacts that it's written down in advance. And the fourth thing that makes a brand come alive is recognizability. So the reason I raised the teal and the look of the brand issue is because David has created a look for his brand. He brings a bat sometimes because of his podcast name, and the bat is teal. It's like, but it is recognizable in a unique way. And then when the message is about heart, the reason for the bat kind of pales away, the joke pales away, and David can talk about people stepping into their purpose. And what's BAT again?
Bringing an awesome thought.
Bringing an awesome thought. There
or
you
being
go.
Authentic today.
Yeah.
Which is really goes back to what you were saying.
What it stands for. And so what David Chametzky's brand stands for is a heart-centered coaching program that helps take you to a higher level of leadership. So we've been blessed to interview here and talk about the journey of David Chametzky, who's the founder of Your Time to Soar, elevating you to a higher level. He is a speaker. He is a podcast media host. He is an author of the new book, When Your Heart Says It's Time. When Your Heart Says It's Your Time to Soar. And he's not stopping. So we'll give you ways to reach David and learn more about him and get more from his brand in the show notes. And we'd like to ask you, from our heart to yours, to follow the Brand Doctor podcast, subscribe to it, because you can look at other episodes and find the rich strategy nuggets and the action items that you can write down and use right now. And I want to remind you that now is the time to define the brand that you will become. Thanks. This is Rich Kozak.